take away the economy from those who rigged it. As I see it, class warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. It's worth it. How to talk to your right-wing relatives, friends, and neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics and Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. And of course, good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created by whom? Created by we the people. Whom again? We the people. And folks, we the people have a big job to do. Today's program, we're going to talk about it because it's going to be left all to we the people. But without further ado, we have the geniuses in the studio, El Señor Jacques Van Bebbe and the one and only Mayana. How you guys doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm feeling like a genius.
Good. That's because you are, you are. How you doing, guys?
We're good.
Yeah, so far so good. Looking forward to your show.
Well, we gonna have a good one. What's up, Jack? I know Jack has been. You said Jack was in the corner in that mental state, saying, "I've got
hmm
to get it together." He's like, "Mayana, get away." The thought process has to come down. The signals are coming, Mayana. Hey, Jack, what's up?
Very serious doing it.
Yeah. Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
First, I'm going to start with the first page, or a little page at the front of Tom Hartman's "The American Hidden History of the American Dream."
Yes.
All right. The liberty of a democracy is not safe if the people tolerate the growth of private power to the point where it becomes stronger than their democratic state itself. That is the essence of fascism, ownership of government by an individual or by a group. And that was by Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Oh, I didn't know Franklin Roosevelt said that.
Yes.
That's actually a great statement. In fact, I'm gonna start there. Continue, my brother.
Yes. Yeah. I read it and it was like, oh man, this is so true. And so it was seen so long ago.
Wow.
Okay. So the White House is reportedly working to criminalize left-wing dissent, equating protest with domestic terrorism. This is a deeply troubling move that risks silencing legitimate voices and undermining democracy itself. This reveals a nation teetering between truth and authoritarianism. When a government starts making laws to crush dissent, you can be sure that fascism is at its core. It seeks to snuff out the voices opposed to this corporate coup that has infiltrated government first by infiltrating the Supreme Court, which 6 conservative justices to 3 justices from the center left, ensuring domination of law from the conservative right. The right of dissent is key to democracy. Opposition dissent should not be criminalized by corporate bullies.
Listen,
Period.
you nailed it. You nailed it. Two things, Jack. I am glad you mentioned that the other 3 Supreme Court justices were from the center left, because in as much as we are glad they are not conservative, that's exactly where they rule, center left. And what that kind of means for those who is that we still give a hell of a lot of leeway to things like corporations and so forth. Look at the rulings, and you see that quite well. But before I get started, let's make sure that Mayana doesn't have anything to add, and then we can get started in Vogue.
I'm just excited about the show and want to hear what you got today so I
Well,
can think about it and learn.
thank you, sis. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Anyway, folks, I'm going to start with what Jack started with, because I love that. I didn't know Roosevelt said that, and that has to do with when people talk about big government, big government, big government, I don't particularly like to say big government. What I do like to say is we need right sized government. And the other reality is government must be, we always must ensure that no private company, no private corporation has more power than government. And the reason why is we, the people, is government, or is it our government? Is we the people are government? I don't know which one is grammatically correct. I think it should be our government. We the people are government. Remember that. Anytime you say anytime you say government is too big, or when you say something like, when government does that, we want the private sector, that's an indoctrination from the Powell memo. And that not only from the Powell memo, from the inception of this country, that wanted the control of whatever we do, the control of the state. They wanted it to be in private hands, not all private hands, but the private hand of the wealthy, the private hands of a few. So when Roosevelt talked about the government having to, that no company or no corporation should be, infer from what Jack said, should be larger than the government, he's absolutely right. And there's another president, Eisenhower, who actually pointed out as well when he talked about the defense industrial complex is something we should be beware of. That should be a corollary to what Roosevelt said, because that is where we sit today, with the defense industrial complex being pretty much uh, a controller of large portions of our government. So we, the people, we have to ensure that it is us that will always be the most powerful. And who is us? That is government. So, folks, please remember that. Don't let anybody tell you that government is bad. Because when they tell you government is bad, they're telling you you are bad. And when they say that we need the private sector to do this and do that, they're saying we want to enslave ourselves to the few. They don't quite use those words. They have to make it pretty. The private sector, let it be done independently. They're not talking about doing things independently. They're talking about a select few controlling things. Words matter. Words matter. Anyway, today where I want to start is to point out, first of all, that we the people are under attack, not from government, but from the executive, a branch of government with the acquiescence of a Republican Senate, a Republican House, and a Republican Supreme Court. And it is something that we ought to be very prepared for. And it's something that it's only us who can actually mitigate. Um, and Charlie Kirk is actually the murder of Charlie Kirk is actually how these people think they are going to have a catalyst to start doing that, with the expectation that people will acquiesce. You heard what Pam Biondi, or Bondi, whatever her name is, who was interviewed by Miller's wife, the president's, Miller, that crazy anti everything guy. His wife interviewed Biondi I think it was last night, and she said there is free speech and there's hate speech, and we are coming after you. We are coming after you. And yesterday, the president pointed out that he's coming after left wing groups. And he also stated that it is left wing folks are violent and all right wing are not violent. They are just mad at people who are violent. So, I mean, we have to be very careful now, and it's going to be on you. Now, before we get started, because and for all of those folks out there who want to give, first of all, and I have to qualify this again. I hate that I have to buttress it with these statements, but given the state of our country and how the right tries to find a way to say you are justifying violence, etc., I must buttress what I'm saying with the following: murder or assassinations or whatever on a political figure or anybody is absolutely wrong. There's no difference between the killing of Mr. Of Charlie Kirk, the killing of uh, the what's his name? The guy the police put his head on. I forget his name right now. Sometimes the mind goes. Killing is killing. Murder is murder. That Charlie Kirk's murder is such a huge thing that we're having staffs lowered, that we're having us redefining what free speech is. When two Democratic state politicians were murdered, assassinated by a right winger a few weeks ago, when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, was murdered, I should say murdered actually, was murdered by somebody who grew up in a Republican, very conservative, Trump-loving household, should tell you something. The way they're treating these differently should tell you something. Should also tell you where the Republican Party really, and I'm not talking about my Republican friends here, talking about the tenets of the Republican Party proper. But my Republican friends, it is time for you to change your party, to be in a party that's actually doing positive things. Because that you're expending this amount of energy to try to change on somebody like Charlie Kirk. It's the wrong thing to do. Now, I just want to play for you what it is that you are supporting and why. Let me pause it here. I need to get it. I need to start out. But before I start it, I want to say this. Please remember, this is actually what you are supporting and saying you are just fine with. Let's go ahead and get that busy.
Comparing abortion to the Holocaust. It's worse.
Were these blacks trying to rob her? All the time in urban America. It looked like I'm not getting this through. Let me see if I need to be able to get this through. That is track one, track two. Bear with me, guys. Let me see why it is that signal isn't coming through, but I need to make sure that the map is right. I need to make sure that the map is right. I really wanted you guys to hear this, and I thought you would hear this. That's line one going. Let me try this again. Hold 1 second.
Following blacks go around for.
I am going to have to figure that one out. It seems like that isn't going to work. All right. I had a montage of all of the negative things Charlie Cook said about all the different identities. And unfortunately, I'm not able to get it onto the right channels. And I want you to hear it. I wanted you to hear it clearly. But that so much energy is being expended to call anybody criticizing this guy hate speech. It's an abomination. And what it actually does is it marginalizes more than 50% of this country. More than 50% of this country is marginalized. And it is something that we have to stop. In the process right now, Donald Trump and Bondi has stated that they're coming after left-wing groups, that they're coming after people who speak up against Mr. Kirk, that people with visas that are trying to get visas, they're going to be scouring the internet. And by the way, that is an easy thing to do now, especially with AI, to see if they've had anything negative to say about Charlie Kirk's murder, and that will prevent them from getting visas. That they will even give powers to the Secretary of State to take folks' green cards away and deport them if they find that they're speaking up against Charlie Kirk. That people that are naturalized United States citizens could potentially be in the crosshairs as well if they speak up against Charlie Kirk. Well, finally, conservatives woke up last night when Pam Biondi said that there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and they even played a clip from the great Charlie Kirk that said there is only one kind of speech, and that is free speech, and that the government should never come after anybody for speech. Even their martyr, there are clips now that said that. And you know why he said that? Kirk actually came out pointing out that the government should never come out against hate speech, because one of the people on this planet who was most responsible for hate speech was in fact Charlie Kirk. And the clip that I wanted you to hear that I couldn't get the signals playing, that is exactly what it was, a conglomeration of hate speech. So, anyway, this is what we have. Senior Trump administration officials on Monday made fresh threats to crack down on non existent left wing domestic terror movement following last week's assassination of Charlie Kirk, a move that critics called an attempt to exploit the far right, Firebrand's murder, to advance an authoritarian agenda targeting nonviolent opposition. Even as investigators work to determine the motive of Kirk's killer, members of Trump's inner circle and supporters have amplified an unfounded narrative of a coordinated leftist movement targeting conservatives. It's a lie. According to the New York Times, on Monday, two senior administration officials who spoke anonymously to describe the internal planning said that cabinet secretaries and federal department heads were working to identify organizations that funded or supported violence against conservatives. I don't know of any organizations that have ever done that. The goal, they said, was to categorize left wing activity that led to violence as domestic terrorism and escalation that critics said could lay the groundwork for crushing anti conservative dissent more broadly. So I guess we will be in their crosshairs, man. For telling the truth, we would be in their crosshairs. Your independent media folks inclusive. Appearing on the latest episode of Charlie Kirk's show, the podcast, which was guest hosted by the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. I want you guys to understand this. Charlie Kirk, a 34-year-old hate speech monger that has a podcast that if you listen to that podcast, all you hear is hate against minorities, hate against liberals, hate against women, that's all you hear on those podcasts. And our vice president, the vice president of the United States, hosted his podcast last night, or night before last, I think. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller said that we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. The only people affecting violence on the American people right now are right-wing kooks, or if you take a look at this game methodology folk that are on the internet, in these game sites where Donald Trump actually campaigned. You heard about the Gen Zs that suddenly converted to Donald Trump, mostly men, and to be more specific, mostly young white boys between 18 and 24, 25, 26 in these gaming locations where Donald Trump placed a lot of his ads, etc., had a lot of people in those infiltration things that we've been telling the Democratic Party. If you want to be on even keel, you should be in these spaces as well. Well, that's where this guy came out of. That is where Tyler came out of, the person who murdered Charlie Kirk. He was in those zones. Notice the caricatures that he uses on the bullets, etc. It's out of those gaming sites. And what they're trying to equate is they're trying to make that be the left. That's not the left. That is the right. In fact, that is the heart of young MAGA. And it's these people realizing that they've been had that have them coming out. Remember what I said many a times. These guys are armed. And what do they do when they realize they've been had? What do they do when they realize they've been used? What do they do when they realize all these realities? And yesterday on my 3 o'clock show, I played the piece of, and I can't do it now because again, there's a connection missing that I need to fix. They came out and properly said that these gamers are not left. These gamers are in the horseshoe of political activity. And these are the guys that are realizing that what they thought MAGA wasn't. And they're armed. And they are armed. And the thing about it is, when people are in despair, people do strange things. What are our farmers gonna do? When people are in despair, they do things. Right now, quite a few of them are committing suicide. Many of them are losing their lands because, again, of the policies of this government. And what they want you to do is concentrate on a fallacy. And concentrate on a fallacy that somehow this is coming from the left. No, this is all a result of what Donald Trump is doing and people waking up. It will happen and will do not in Charlie's name, Miller vowed. Miller vowed that in Charlie's name, this is what they have to do. Vance said during the podcast that he wanted to explore all of the ways that we are trying to figure out how to prevent this festering violence that you see on the far left from becoming even more and more mainstream. What festering violence? All of the murders so far that we've seen even this year, trans doesn't mean left. You have the gay Republicans, you have the log cabin Republicans, that's a gay group. You see, that is how the okie doke gets started. That is how they fool you. That is how they fool you. You have the crazies on the far left who are saying, oh, Stephen Miller and J.D. Vance, they're going to go after constitutionally protected speech. The vice president said, we're going to go after the network that foments, facilitates, and engages violence. You know what I've had emails tell me? I'm going to report you. I am going to tell. I'm going to get you off the air. I'm going to get you off the internet. In effect, I'm going to zero you out. I'm going to prevent you from being able to tell the truth. I get those calls. I get those emails. It's a matter of attempt at shutting you down. And this will only get saved and stopped by you. John, I'm coming to you in a minute, but I have to get this out. So, folks, when your vice president is on the talk show of a 31-year-old person whose talk show was based on hate, When that is occurring, the executive is not there. The executive branch of the government is currently not there to protect more than half of the country. That is what authoritarianism looks like. And let me point out, if you heard it over the last couple of days, TikTok, apparently some deal is being made for TikTok. I love TikTok. And I love TikTok because if you follow a group of, let's say, educators, you're going to get a lot of educational messages of that type, etc. And that's who I follow, a lot of very smart educators who promote history. And by the way, I take nothing on TikTok at face value. I research, I use it as a catalyst many times. But now TikTok is going to be under the control of some company sanctioned by Donald Trump. What do you think is about to happen? We have Facebook, who is now under the control of Donald Trump because of his relationship with Zuckerberg. We have Twitter under the control of Musk because, again, no matter what you see about this outward fight, these are skirmishes between billionaires, but they ultimately have the same goal. Google, I don't know how much control Google is gonna give to the administration per se, but my statement is if you have control of Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and let's say four of the five major social media, Snapchat, etc. If you have control of those, you don't your authoritarianism is that much easier because all you have to do is block the content coming from people like myself, Tom Hartman, Midas, and all these other progressive voices. Just make sure they're throttled, which I get throttled as it is right now. Throttling means that there's a whole lot of folks who should be seeing my stuff that isn't seeing it, that aren't seeing it, because again, they have control of the algorithm. And guess what? With the real time speech to text conversion, with the real time analysis of what you're saying, they can decide how far your message comes up into people's feeds. There are people now that tells me, Egberta, why aren't you on anymore? And it's like, I'm still on. They said, I don't get notifications anymore. Why? You don't get notifications anymore? Well, because of the algorithm. So you have got to remember at 6 every morning, if you're not in the Houston vicinity on air, you got to remember to go to your Substack and actually look up Egberto off the record to hear us on Substack. On YouTube, you have to make sure and go to youtube.com/Egberto Willies at 6 o'clock or 3 o'clock p.m. We will be there, but you won't necessarily be notified. You have to make sure that we know how to reach you. So in the old days of muckraking, there was no internet. You know how we organized in the old days? Word of mouth and pieces of paper. You know what part of the internet they still can't quite throttle easily? Emails. And why is that the case? The function of email is to have a mailbox, and the mailbox, it has a certain IP, and there is not as much control that you can have over. I mean, you can still have some control, but let me tell you what all of us as responsible Americans in an autocratic system have to do now. We can't rely on the social media because it's now being owned and throttled. Throttle again mean they control what they see, what you're going to be able to see from Midas, what you're going to be able to see from Politics Done Right, what you're going to be able to see from these different domains. But you know what? I have a database of our emailers, the thousands and thousands of people that have given us their emails that we send out to you. Eventually, that is going to be the only kind of sure way to get the message to you, to point out, hey guys, this is what we're going to be doing this week. Hey guys, this is what we're going to be doing today. It is getting real. And when I say it is getting the autocratic stuff that we spoke about for decades, not for decades, but while Donald Trump has been around, it is getting here. So by the way, if you happen to stumble onto us on Substack, go ahead and do that subscription. You know why? Because unless we got your email, we're not sure. Go to kpft.org and sign up. Go to Egberto Off the Record and sign up. That's how we reach you. That's how we reach you. And before I go to John, Carolyn Donlin, Judy, Joe, Cheryl Elkins, Erlong, Pat Hatcher, Kat, Lois Benson, Glenn Ryan, Beth Andrews, Judy, Thomas Potchester, D. Lee Smith, Carolyn Olson, Bonnie, and Raymond. We missed a whole bunch up front, but I salute you and thank you for being here. Remember, let us know your email because, again, in the long run, we are continuously throttled. And that is going to be, in the long run, our main form of communication with you on the next steps on what we need to do. John, come on in.
Yes. Yes, I wanted to say I was watching Free Speech TV yesterday and Democracy Now, and I'm pretty sure that they were throttled. And I, simply watched the program, after the live broadcast. I just went directly to Democracy Now. But I wanted to say that Charlie Kirk was funded by billions of dollars, and we have been moving into this authoritarian mode for quite a few years. And, when George Floyd happened and when he was murdered by the police department, our police department is one of the most corrupt in the country, and there was a consent decree to reorganize and clean up our police department. That was immediately rescinded.
By Trump.
Donald Trump is pushing to, have federal charges against Chauvin dropped. And, he's doing everything he can to pressure him at a state level, too, to have his charges dropped. These people are fascists. They are fascists. This is right out of the playbook. If you read the history of the rise of Mussolini, of Hitler in Germany, and yet this democracy is teetering because Donald Trump chose to take a side against 50%, the other 50%, of which I'm a member of. And I am appalled, and I'm, involved in politics. I want to do whatever I can, to prevent this. But this is where we're at. And, when Keith Ellison investigated the George Floyd, the thing that had the murder of George Floyd, and when it went to trial, almost all of the acts of arson and vandalism happened from the Proud Boys and other people who came here, and they were paid. So these people are paid. There's a dark web. They're funded. Nick Fuentes and some of these other people. No, there is no. I live right here. I did not see, young people dressed in black, Antifa, doing anything violent whatsoever.
Look, you're so correct. Sorry, John. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. And the acts of violence came from the police department, too. They removed an eye from a woman from Toronto who was covering it.
I remember that well. I remember that well. I spoke to it's the Secretary of State, Minnesota Secretary of State Keith Ellison. He used to be a representative from Minnesota. He's now the Secretary of State. I spoke to him last month at Netroots. We had an extensive interview, and I always tease him because I always tell him that he saved the country when he prevent the real explosion from happening in the way he handled the George Floyd case. And he always kind of blush when I'm telling him that, but he did. And you're correct. He
Yep.
pointed that out as well. All this violence is coming from the right. And we can't allow
is.
these guys we can't allow them to change reality or history, and we won't. And that's the reason why folks
Right,
that are
right.
listening right now, I tell you, we are going to be throttled even more. They are telling us. So you need to let us know who you are so we can reach you directly, and that's doing that. Hey, subscribe to those that to online if you're on Substack, because again, there are times that when they want certain control, they'll do it. Thank you, John. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's talk tomorrow, or maybe we'll catch you on the 3 o'clock show, brother. All right. Let's go to brother Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Bruce.
Yeah, I'm going to speak kind of in general terms. I'll be brief. A rational thinker looks at the facts and sees where the facts takes them. Someone that doesn't think rationally decides what they believe, and then they look for something to confirm it. Now, when you get emails threatening you, it's because you hit a nerve with the truth. If what you said was baloney, and I used a better B word, if what you said was baloney, they'd welcome it because it'd be easy to pick apart. So the truth is threatening to people that have their preconceived idea of things. I'm done. Bye.
Thank you, brother Bruce. Absolutely so. And I think I figured out the mistake that I made with not being able to play that Charlie Kirk thing. And what I want to do is I want to get to it because I think it's a must. I want to show anybody who is given people who are just pointing out the realities of Charlie Kirk a hassle. I want to play this for them because let me tell you, when we talk about throttling, there are honest conservatives out there who really hold one second. Let me check this out. There are honest conservatives out there who do not have a clue of the things that Charlie Kirk represented because they only know about him in passing, right? They only know about him in passing for some of the conservative things he said. But many don't know how vile he's been. So I want to let you hear this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
To the Holocaust.
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. Were these blacks trying to...
Comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America? Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. Black crime is a major issue in our country. Why are you pushing criminal justice reform exactly? Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. Now, the southern border is, of course, the great replacement. They're trying to replace us demographically. They're trying to make the country less white. It is an anti-white agenda. If I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Taylor Swift is now engaged to Travis Kelce. This is something that I hope will make Taylor Swift more conservative. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge. America was at its peak when we halted immigration for 40 years and we dropped our foreign-born percentage to its lowest level ever. Miss Rachel, you quote Leviticus 19, love your neighbor as yourself. The chapter before affirms God's perfect law when it comes to sexual matters. In Leviticus 18 is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Can we get that picture up, Ryan, of that Marvel's Avenger team? Now, I don't know who the person is on the left. Is the person on the left that came and did the interview with Joe? The TikTok? Your government is being run by freaks. It's like immediately I have like a flashback to a country where weren't able to do Bud Light commercials. What does being trans even mean? Is that even a real thing? It means you need therapy. We must ban trans-affirming care the entire country. I do think that there is a direct correlation between someone's testosterone and their politics. On young men, the lower their testosterone, the more likely they are to be Democratic.
So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was going to give birth and she would, no, wait, oh, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live, would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
It's no, but it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that?
So I'm sorry, are you trying to say that blacks thrive under subjugation?
No, I'm not. I'm saying I'm asking you the question. The data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil. But what happened? Something changed. I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration.
If you support this guy, remember, these are the things he's saying about just about every identity except you know whom. You support this person. Understand, first of all, this is a college dropout that decided to talk about Ketanji Brown, who is a Supreme Court justice that did complete school, complete all the requirements for being a lawyer, and she's still not good enough for this college dropout, folks. Couldn't handle it. West Point wouldn't take him. And that is what the rest of America has to go ahead and say, glory on to Mr. Kirk. Glory be unto the name of Mr. Kirk. Are you kidding me? He talks about when we stopped immigration. Don't he know that all the technical companies in this country, most of them in the last several decades, have been funded by foreigners, both Indians and Latinos and others? Again, this is what comes from an uneducated mind with hate. And I just played it for you, and I refuted the lies that he just taught. He likes to talk about black on black crime. Really? Have you ever spoken about white on white crime? And by the way, again, murder is never justified ever. But wasn't what occurred to you white on white crime? Let's be honest and not allow the okey doke and not allow smoke and mirrors with what the administration is trying right now, folks. Do not allow it. Let's be honest. This is not about supporting somebody. This is about somebody. You know, I heard a minister said yesterday, they said, I don't have to like the way you die to lie about your life. And this deification of this guy is a slap in the face on women. It's a slap in the face of people of color. It's a slap in the face for immigrants. It's a slap in the face for all. You heard it out of his mouth. And if you support that, and for all of you, think about it. If you support that, it speaks more about you. And folks, if you have friends that are telling you, I love this guy, he was a great Christian, do you think Jesus would sound like that? Please, Brian, come on in.
Yeah, you never saw the fall of Minneapolis, did you? On YouTube? And those episodes that you took, that you filled together, those were like 9 to 14 minute segments of him speaking over years and years and years.
Did he said those things or not? I have hours. Wait, hold on. I have hours. You can. I'll tell you to do this, Brian. You claim that you have gigabytes of my program. Go do an AI search. Go ahead and digitize it. Do an AI search and see if I have ever said anything hateful about anyone like this guy has said. I don't care if it's 2 seconds, 2 minutes, or whatever. You would never hear me say those vile things, sir. Continue.
Yes, you have. And you get pretty angry when someone overtalks you, don't you? You get pretty angry.
Are you going to continue? Are you going to continue? Or are you going to answer the questions? Go ahead, move on.
I do have hours of you confronting me.
So go ahead and find where I have ever I've ever said anything denigrated towards you. Go find it. Continue, sir.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, I've got it.
Well, please play it.
Why
I'll
I
play it.
download
I
it.
tell you what, you cut it out, send it to me, and I'll play it on air for the people. I promise you that. Cut it out, send it to me, and I will play it for our audience and ask our audience, was this anywhere like Brother Kirk? So you send it to me, and I promise you I'll play it.
I started
Okay?
the conversation. Have you ever seen The Fall of Minneapolis on YouTube?
Notice that he changed the
done that?
subject because it's not there. Let's go to the
No,
other
that's
caller. I'm
how
not
I
playing
started
games.
it.
Let's go to Mike. Come on in, Mike. Mike, you're on.
Yes. Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing, sir, my brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, some of the clips you played, to be fair, some of them were taken out of context, because if you go and play on a little bit further and see the full context of what he's saying, oftentimes it's not as bad as people on the left are trying to make it out to be. And the real objection here, if we're honest, is his stance on the LGBT. That's the real issue. That's what people really are upset about.
Actually, no, sir. I have listened to the entire segments. I've listened to the Charlie Kirk shows in their entirety. These are not taken out of context. I have listened to the shows myself, sir. I want everybody to point that out, because those people that are trying to excuse Charlie Kirk, that's what they are telling the rest of America about these clips. But here's the thing. That's not what I do here. I listen to the programs, and those segments are only a part of the racism that Charlie Kirk represent, the sexism that Charlie Kirk represent, the anti-immigrant that what's called that is only a fraction. So my brother Mike, I don't know if you have listened to the entire show. I have, and those are definitely not out of context. Continue, sir.
So, for example, when let's start with the shooter. First of all, we know now that the shooter, he had a boyfriend that was transitioning to becoming a woman. His family and friends have made it clear that he was a hardcore far left person.
No, that's not. Let me tell you that is how the administration is characterizing their conversation with the family. And here's the deal. Trans does not mean left wing. There are articles, if you don't want to, hold on, wait, stop. If you don't want to, you can do this research on your own and look at the words that he used. He's a part of the Groik movement. That is a far right movement online that a lot of that a lot of, it's not a lie, sir. We have this.
Okay, where's it?
You can go, sir. It's not hard to find at all. And that's what I'm telling you. Those of you on the right, if you just do a little bit of research, sir, you can find it. You can find what channels he was on. I forgot what the name of the channels are. This is a right-wing group. Period. There's no question about it. And the only reason they're trying to tag it onto left wing is what I stated in the beginning, and it goes as follows: when people on the right realize that they've been used, that they've been screwed, and they're armed, and they're young minds that are still forming, this is what happens. The trans has nothing to do with it. Trans does not know ideology. There are right-wing trans, there are left-wing trans, there are right-wing gays, there are left-wing gays. There's something called the log cabin Republicans. Look it up. So please, brother, when you come onto this show, hold on. I'm not done. I am not done. No. This is my show, sir. Please. Now, I'm not going to allow people to be ill-informed on this show. I leave that to the right. We don't do that here. Okay? Now, if you want factual information, look it up, or I can help you look it up if you talk to me offline. All right, continue.
So when you say look up factual information, it's on the record from his neighbors and his family that he was a leftist. Now you're claiming that he was part of certain groups online.
What makes him what made him a leftist?
Okay, well, first of all, he was a member of the Democratic Socialist chapter out in Utah.
No, he was not. He was not. That's not true. Again, All right, you know what? I'm not going to allow you to use our channel to just put out bad information, okay? Because
Oh,
that is what
because I
that is
say
what
stuff
the
you
right
disagree with,
does.
it silence
Thank
me.
you, sir. I'm not going to allow that. Thank you. Let's go to Donald.
Hey, good morning, Alberto. I had an intellectually stimulating conversation this week with a statistician that was a professor. And it's amazing when you're one-on-one with somebody what information you can gather. But why is it that people can't see both sides of every story and filter through? Truth is not suggestive. And feelings, nobody cares about. There are facts, and then there are truths. And in science, and why do I always have to tell people, like if I'm talking to a mathematician, we can have conversations all day. But when I start talking to other people, I have to keep telling them to define this word, define it,
Amen.
because I don't know how to speak unless you give me a definition. And definitions seem to be changing every day. So when can we actually get back to a true conversation?
No, look, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you, see what the caller that just did behind, and I don't think the caller who just called in is a bad guy or anything like that. He just misled and went down the rabbit hole. And you're correct in what you're saying. What we have is a problem where, well, what does left mean now? Because they're redefining left to be anything that somebody does that is wrong, and then they call it leftist. When the reality is all the killings that are occurring is occurring mostly from people who have this rightward ideology. When it comes to the definition of what it means to be name whatever you want to do, that's where the, it is somehow
Now back,
misled. Go ahead.
yes, and back to truth, we can speak. We have the freedom of speech. And you can love as much as you hate in America, and you can hate as much as you want in America, but you can't act on the hate. You can act on all the love you want. So let's love and listen instead of going at each other's throat over stupid stuff from a mouthpiece that was financially backed. And there are some good things he said, but there's a whole lot of bad things. And I'm the one that has to correct my kids and say, yeah, when he said that about the pilots, that was wrong. Now, if he would have said, if they are lowering the standards to get everybody accepted into this and they're excluding one individual race, that is wrong. But they're not lowering the bar. They're not lowering the standards. They're giving, in the last 30 to 50 years, we've given people the opportunity to excel at what they were good at.
And I wish more people would understand that. And when I tell the audience that if you see a black pilot, and I mean this from the depths of my heart, you should actually feel safer, because that guy or that woman had to go through a lot more hoops to get there. There's no lowering of standards. There is such prejudice still, racism still in this country, that in the professional field, and I've been in several different areas of the professional field and business, and it is there. And that is why the Charlie Cook story gets me so confoundedly upset, because those lies that this guy tries to characterize of out of context, no, he's wrong. And there's a group of folks that want to believe that for their own personal insecurities. But Donald, thank you for making sense. I got to go to Jimmy, and we only have a couple minutes left.
Okay, real quick. That's
Yes.
like me being comfortable seeing my mechanical electrical engineer come in that's a Panamanian.
Get out of here, man. We talk later, brother. Let me have Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy. Okay, Jimmy, you're on. Give me a minute, Jimmy. About a minute. 1 minute, Jimmy. Jimmy, you're on. Okay, Jimmy must left. Let's see what number 2 has. Come on in, number 2. Whoever, just start talking.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to comment on what your studio had said yesterday about Netanyahu being able to stay in power because, there's unrest in his country. Trump definitely seems like he's read Mein Kampf, because he is like the sense of nationalism, the objectification of women, like all the things he does, just almost like a playbook of that. And I can't help but get the sense that he doesn't want to lose the the power. He's like Schmeagol with that ring, and he does seem to idolize like the North Korean dictator. He, oh, we're good friends, or me and Putin get along great. I understand these people. It definitely seems like he either wants a war at the end of his term so that he can suspend elections, or cause so much turmoil in society that there is like a mini civil war, and he can have troops in all the cities already. It seems like he's already laying out all the troops so that he can declare martial law, like suspend the elections. He does not want to give. He wants total power. That's what he wants.
It's in the playbook, brother. What's your name, sir?
Bobby.
Bobby, it's in the playbook. Okay, I gotta go, Bobby, but you actually nailed it. That's exactly what's happening. Okay, and that is why I tell folks, have your emails out. Let us know. Subscribe. We need to know who you are, where you are, so we can reach you, because TikTok is going to be throttled. Anyway, let me go to the studio.
Yeah, I was thinking that the guy who was talking about, he wants to look it up. I would just want to suggest, go to ChatGPT, because it's not one-sided type of information. Is Tyler Robinson a democratic socialist? Wait for the answer. What political group does Tyler Robinson belong to? And then whatever the name is, what are the beliefs of these people, And
you
then
are a very smart woman.
Like that.
You are a very
so that's
smart
just a
woman.
Suggestion.
It should be a command. That is how you research. That is how you research, Mayana. That's how you research. And
I know,
by
I
the
do
way,
a lot of it.
There you go. And when you get those responses from ChatGPT, also corroborate those responses from ChatGPT with other sources. Not just say ChatGPT can make a mistake as well, but corroboration is the way to go. Jack
is doing something else.
All right, folks. Look, thank you guys. Love you all of you. And here's the deal, folks. We got to be smart. Love you all. Check out the rest of the show, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Check me out at kfft@politicsdoneright.com to direct email. And by the way, love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.